Hey, it's your favorite X-Men here, Wolverine, aka Logan, featuring Logan Alexander doing a review of my new movie, Logan. So you better stay tuned, bub, because I'm the best at what I do.
Thanks, Wolverine, for that extraordinary introduction. Now, let's get right to the point. Snicked. The review is a 6.5 out of 10, so if you want to know why, you can watch the rest, but if you just want to know the number, then there it is. So I saw Logan with my buddy, who is coincidentally a lot like Wolverine. Somehow should be dead from alcoholism, but is not. I guess that describes me too. But the movie perhaps is best viewed while inebriated. It is good, but it is not quite as good as I would have liked. This being said, my expectations were somewhat low because the previous installments of Wolverine were sufficiently shitty. Hugh Jackman is a great Wolverine. I mean, he's sufficiently jacked, man, but that doesn't make up for it. And that's even considering his acting ability is pretty on point. Um, he's outstanding overall. He can fill most roles, but I mean, despite the fact that he's 6'3" and Wolverine is meant to be about 5'2", 5'3" in the comics, but he is he has not enough dialogue to work with. Not um, he does as well as he can with this dialogue in this film. And I think that's one of the stronger points of the film is the first point, acting. Stewart and Hugh Jackman and the little girl who plays X-23, the daughter of Wolverine, really not giving away much there. It's introduced pretty quickly. Um, she she's they're all very good at what they do. No pun intended. Um, and they just don't have enough, I think, to have good the chemistry that they need, and more importantly, the dialogue they need to drive the narrative along and give a sense of believability and immersion into that universe and into us having empathy with um, the entirety of that universe. Certainly, they do for their individual characters, but a lot of that is predicated on knowing these characters prior. Which, I mean, if you're fucking going to see a movie about Wolverine, you probably know at least a little bit about what's going on. If not from having seen the movies, probably from reading the comics. Um, the plot is a little bit janky at times. It's, I mean, it makes sense. They didn't do a straight, copy pasta from the comics, which I think would have been fine. But studios can't seem to do that. I understand there's a time constraint, but it's still they could get it done. Um, it's I don't what I One of the things I don't like is there's a certain villain that is just absurd. They've done this kind of shit before and it didn't work. Um, you're gonna find out and you're gonna be disappointed. I mean, a villain is probably one of the most, if not most important things in a film. It can make or break a film. Because you want to see the film being close to broken or the protagonist and then them somehow coming out ahead. But with this, it's just you didn't really care as much. The circumstances act as the antagonist rather than any actors so much. Um, but then again, those circumstances aren't fleshed out well enough. Um, the action very important because he's fucking Wolverine. He has claws, and finally we get to see him claw people to death in a rated R film. the ultra violence is a-okay, on point, no pun intended, pun intended actually, but it's a little too late. I mean, it's cool because we get to see him doing like his berserker kills. They finally got his berserker rage on point, but um, it's not as graceful as it doesn't show Wolverine's true level of skill because he's older now in this film. I would have liked to have seen, a little. Yeah, I know it's cliche, but to have like a cooler one-on-one with him versus somebody else. That's that Hugh Jackman doing his own stunts for the most part. Yeah, I love the guy. I would go gay for him. Yeah, I mean he can sing, he can dance, he can act. He's jacked. I mean, why would you not? It's really kind of the question I would have for you. Um, I don't want to give too much away, but there's not going to be more Wolverine films starring Hugh Jackman. There's enough articles out on the internet stating this fact. Um, the X-Men and Wolverine franchise as a whole, it has kind of been a bust. They they kind of went their own way from the comics. I read the comics. You may or may not, but they I don't think they did most of the characters justice. The casting is good, but the story is really convoluted, even for a comic book universe. Um, he, I would, I understand why they need to move on with the comics. Fox had the X-Men previously. I don't know if Marvel will gain access to that. That'd probably be best. Marvel seems to be doing a better job. Well, is doing a better job, but that doesn't guarantee anything. They really like sort of the shotgun approach. They like to get as much of the different demographics of the audience as possible, rather than doing a singular, you know, kind of fan pleasing, fan service flick like Deadpool is, and Deadpool 2 is probably going to be, if they're not stupid. So, all in all, I like to grade things on a 10, 1 through 10 scale, even though the first 1 through 5 is pretty useless. It's what I know. It's what I'm comfortable with. I would give it like a 6.5. It's not a horrible film. It's not a waste of your time. If you're poor, it might be a waste of your money, but it's decent. And I like that there's more drama to Wolverine. They're taking him more seriously in this film. He is much more compelling in his emotions, and it's nice to see him finally get that attention, and as well as his place in the Marvel universe as a virtually indestructible character. Um, Patrick Stewart signing off too. Wish him well. He has been a darling and a sir in the X-Men universe, and I honestly don't know who else could play him. I mean, James McAvoy is doing a decent job, but I think that he's probably on the way out too. That's all I have, folks. If you have comic book friends, I'd recommend seeing the movie. I'd recommend seeing the movie just because it has my name in it. And I would like to sort of do a mental masturbation with the idea that people are seeing the movie because I recommended it. No, Wolverine's a great character. Read the comics. Won't be disappointed.